Way to combat drunkenness. Seneca Zeno's arguments against drunkenness do not convince him. It is necessary to distinguish between the occasional drunk and the habituated to the wine. The latter is also sometimes entrusted with secrets. Instead of adducing syllogisms, reasoning model based on the idea of deduction, it will be better to consider the disorders that drunkenness produces not only in individuals, but in the lives of peoples, specifically begets cruelty. It shows how embarrassing it is to ingest more than one is capable of and ignore the measure of one's stomach. How many clumsiness do the drunks commit from which the sober ones blush? How drunkenness is nothing other than voluntary madness. Prolong the state of drunkenness for several days, will you doubt its madness? Remember the case of Alexander of Macedonia, who Cleto, his most beloved and loyal friend, in the middle of a banquet, pierced him with the sword. When the impetuous strength of wine takes over the mood, all the evil that was hidden comes to life. Then the lustful man does not even wait to reach the bedroom, but grants, without delay, his passions as much as he is asked. Then the impudent confesses and publishes his ailment. Then the shameless does not repress the tongue, nor the hand. The insolent arrogance is aggravated, the violent cruelty, the envious the evil, every vice breaks loose and emerges. He adds his own ignorance, the clumsy and unclear expression, the vague look, the hesitant step, the vertigo, the same moving ceiling as if a whirlwind made the whole house spin. The stomach anguish when it ferments the wine and distends the entrails. Consider what misfortunes the drunkenness of a whole people has caused. She has given her enemies to very courageous and hard-working people. She has opened the walls defended in war committed for many years. She has submitted to the will of others very stubborn soldiers to reject the yoke. She, because of wine, has subdued the undefeated on the battlefield. Alexander was left unscathed. So many expeditions, so many fights, plus the excessive drinking and that fateful, which is inevitable and brings a fateful fate, cup of Hercules took him to the grave. To Marco Antonio, vices made him helpless against his enemies. They made him cruel when he presented himself, during dinner, the heads of the most distinguished citizens, when, in the middle of sumptuous feasts, he recognized the faces and hands of the outcasts. When, laden with wine, it was unbearable for him to get drunk while committing these excesses. How much more intolerable he committed them in the midst of drunkenness. From drunkenness cruelty almost always results, since the sanity of the soul is vitiated and exasperated. In the same way that prolonged illnesses make patients moody, irritable and furious at the slightest stumbling block, so the continuous intoxication infuriates the spirits. Well, since these very often do not own themselves, the habit of madness is strengthened and the vices caused by the wine, even without influence of it, take force. Thus, it shows why the wise should not get drunk. It indicates the deformity of vice and its inconveniences with facts, not with words. It demonstrates, which is very easy, that what they call a pleasure, when it has exceeded the measure, becomes torment. Cup of Hercules, because it was believed that the hero was a great drinker, and thus the silver cups were given his name. Alexander died days after participating in a banquet held in Babylon.